Hello, my name is Alex Davis and welcome to the beautiful Walser Auto Campus, and today we're going to be talking about this incredible 2005 Ford GT. We came upon this car from a collector up in Minnesota. He traded 3 vehicles in for one, so we were able to secure this one based off of that transaction. But this one is incredible and I'm going to tell you why. We're going to start off with the mileage for this car. Under 1,900 miles on this 2005 Ford GT, which is incredibly low, even given the stature of this car. So we'll start off at the front, like we always do. Ford GT, of course, incredibly low. This vehicle was actually made to signify 100 years at Ford. So at the same time that they were making the Ford Freestar and the '05 Ford Mustang, they made this monster. So rather shocking bit of engineering to come from Ford Motor Company, but it is one heck of a car. It is one of the most comfortable cars you can drive, especially given the fact that it's a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, supercharged V8. All of those don't really add up to what sounds like a comfortable car, especially coming from Ford in 2005, but it's very comfortable, very much something you can kind of hop around town in and have a lot of fun in, as well as go to the track and destroy some tires. But starting off in the front, there is a bit of an Easter egg in the headlights. 100, commemorating 100 years of Ford, of course, because it's symmetrical. On the other side, it says 001, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk just about the driver's side. Nice Ford badge prominently right up front. You do have some fog lights, and then between the fog lights will be your intake for the intercoolers, or excuse me, the airflow coming through all the way here, cooling the vehicle. So some massive vents there, and a bit of storage, which I'll show you in just a second, up front. Not a whole lot, probably enough for an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but storage nonetheless. Moving around the side of the vehicle, I want to explain more about why this car is so special, because this is what's called a 4-option car. Back in 2005, there were only 4 options for this car. You had, of course, a number of color choices and a number of choices within those options, but 4 nonetheless. The first one is going to be the over-the-top painted racing stripe. The second ones are going to be kind of concentrating down here, the lightweight BBS wheels, as well as the gray painted calipers. The calipers were traditionally red without the gray caliper option. And then on the inside, which I'll show you in just a second, you'll have the Macintosh stereo system with the subwoofer just between the seats. So a 4-option car, very, very special indeed. Moving along the side, I'll kind of get out of the way here. You'll see just how incredibly low this vehicle sits. It's not as low as, of course, the original GT40, but it's still sitting within that about 45, 46 inches above the ground from ground to the top of the roof. Again, more intakes here for engine cooling and aerodynamic purposes, and then moving around the back, one of the most aggressive rear ends I think ever fitted to a production car. It's this steep kind of negative angle on the back with this metal bumper, and then of course the iconic Ford GT taillights. So absolutely incredible rear end. And then these kind of floating exhaust tips, they kind of stick out from this plastic bumper and go in between the sheathing to protect, of course, the paint here, but some nice center exit exhaust for the 2005 Ford GT. We'll start on the inside and then we'll move to the engine bay. So of course, with the '05 Ford GT, you'll have some rather unique doors to make sure that everybody would be able to get in and out comfortably. And I'm going to say comfortably loosely. I'm just over 6 foot, and you'll see how I fit in this in just a second. It's kind of tight. But you do have some roof that is on your door, again, with some soundproofing and some carpeting material up there to make it a little bit more refined than just some bare metal. But you do have a roof opening so that you can kind of slide in and out a little bit easier. I can't imagine if the roof line was right here trying to crane your neck in. So that being said, I'm gonna hop on in. Relatively comfortable with the door open, but if I do close the door, I'm gonna duck as to avoid the roof. But once you get in, you're in there. It is not a large vehicle inside. My hair is touching a little bit and I'm kind of slouching. But once you get a driving position that's more than comfortable, you'll be fine in here for quite a while. I do have the keys in hand, very much a Ford key. You'll have the key fob from a 2005 Ford Mustang or a Ford Explorer or Freestar, anything that they were making in '05. So just a reminder that you're driving a Ford product, but you do have a Ford key that is branded with the Ford GT emblem. So very nice to have that there. Otherwise, Very futuristic interior for the time, and I still think there's a very few interiors that hold up to the test of time, and this is on top of that list. You do have vents from 2005 Ford products like the Mustang, but a lot of this stuff really is bespoke. Let's ignore the stocks over here for just a second. We're going to concentrate down here on the AC controls. All of these are kind of a polished metal look. Very nice. There's no plastic bezels. It's simply just the center console and then your floating AC and ventilation controls just here, and some nice buttons for your recirculation and then your AC controls. So wonderful bit of art that happened along here. Same thing with your e-brake. Again, you have that aluminum look and then your aluminum gear selector here as well. Drop that in the center. This is, again, almost art. It's not quite a car at this point. This is very artistic. You have your engine start button. You would put the key in, twist it into accessory mode, foot on the clutch, foot on the brake, and then push to start there. So very cool. You do have a 12-volt socket just here for any radar detectors or any charging. You can turn your airbag light, your airbag for your passenger off just here. But then here's one of those 4 options, that Macintosh stereo. It is a little bit obscured from view when you have the start, stop, and your 12-volt just there, but you can get along with it quite easily. Physical dials, of course, being that it's an 05, but again, still very futuristic looking for something of this age. You have your 5 toggle switches up here for your hazard lights, your rear defrost, your dimmer switches for your gauges, your front fog lights, and then your other lights as well, so your headlights. Mirror controls, door switches, and unlocking, all very standard Ford product. You do have some sun visors, but no vanity mirrors here. Sorry, you're not going to be doing any adjusting of your hair or makeup when you're concentrating on not crashing this thing, because this thing behind me, just behind me, there's a massive supercharger pulley blaring in your ears when you're driving this thing. 5.4 liter supercharged V8 from Ford, 550 horsepower, 0 to 60 in about 3.5 seconds, and it has been tested to go over 200 miles an hour with a long enough straight. So a very, very fast car. The rear end will get away from you rather quickly, so I've been told. I've just gotten a chance to drive it around the parking lot a little bit, and like I said, it's very comfortable, very easy to get along with. It's actually relatively easy to see out of. Backing up, the small little side mirrors don't give much information, but going forward and looking around, there's actually a lot of glass in here in this relatively small cockpit. So I want to open up the engine bay because that clamshell back there is massive and it reveals a lot of the engineering that was put into this car. Closing the door and the roof panel at the same time is always fun, but here is the power plant for the 2005 Ford GT. As I mentioned inside, 5.4 liters, massive top mount supercharger from Ford. If there's one thing that I think Ford knows how to do very well, it is how to supercharge vehicles. These have been very, if they're very well taken care of, they will last a very, very long time, and something that you can drive and enjoy. But a massive clamshell hood here. You have your defrosted rear glass, of course. But the way that you get this open is rather interesting. You have a center mounted kind of pull on the interior of the vehicle, and then you have to manipulate these 2 latches. So it's best done with 2 people so you're not leaning over and scratching your paint. So I did just that, had a little bit of help, and got that open. That's why you didn't see me open it. But a lot of course, chassis bracing here. This, honestly, if this was removed, it would still be a piece of art. If you could drive around with it like this, if you really, really wanted to, and everybody would get a chance to look at the engineering from your suspension linkage to your chassis bracing to your reservoirs here that are in aluminum. Just massive amounts of really, really cool tech back here. If you ever get a chance to see one in person, see if you can get the owner to put the clamshell up, because this is just something else. Thank you very much for joining me on this quick introduction to this 2005 Ford GT. Again, at time of filming, per usual, this vehicle is available for sale. It is over at our Porsche of Wichita store, but anybody here on campus would be more than happy to talk to you about this vehicle. Again, thank you so much for joining us. This is Walser Auto Campus, and enjoy the drive.